All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Blount County Legislative Body is now in session with the Honorable Jerome Moon, Chairman, presiding. All persons having business with this Honorable Commission draw near, give attention, and you shall be heard. God save the United States of America, the state of Tennessee, and this Honorable Commissioner. Reverend Philip Marshall, Associate Pastor of the Cornerstone Fellowship Church, will lead us in prayer.
Father, we just thank you for your privilege and the opportunity to stand before these distinct people tonight, Lord, these ladies and gentlemen that has the rule of this Blount County because of the honor that's been laid on them through election. Lord, we just pray that you would just touch them and touch their families, give them health and strength like they've never had it before. And Lord, we just thank you that what made all of this possible was your son, Jesus, when you let him come to Calvary and die on the cross, and his blood could make all these things possible, that we could have a county like Blount County's been for 200 and so many years. Lord, we just thank you for the privilege of it. Lord, just be with them and guide them and direct them, Lord, and let them feel your input in their lives and to guide them and to help them to lead us and direct us like we've never been led before. We give you all the honor and all the praise because it's in Jesus' name that we can do this. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 18th, 2012 Blount County Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you, Reverend Marshall, for tonight's prayer. We sure appreciate it. On behalf of the Commission, Chair thanks William Blount High School Air Force Junior ROTC for the presentation of colors. At this time, read the evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. This time, the Commission will come to order. Please register your presence by voting yes.
You have 16 present, 5 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Commissioners Burkhalter and Farmer had a conflict in scheduling, and I think Commissioner Hasty had a work issue. This time, the chair will stand for a motion to set the agenda. Mr. Carver moves. Mr. Lewis seconds. Commissioner Folks, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to request that the budget increases F2A through D be considered separately.
That will be no problem. Any other discussion? Vote yes to set the agenda as circulated. Vote no not to set.
Have 16 yeses.
The agenda is set. At this time, we'll move to agenda item B, consent calendar. Chair will stand for a motion to approve the consent calendar. Commissioner Wright moves. Second by Mr. Kirby. Discussion. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the consent calendar. Vote no not to approve. Please vote.
Have 15 yeses and 1 abstain.
The consent calendar is approved. This time we'll move to agenda item C, public input on the items on the agenda. Anyone wish to address the body? Seeing no hands, we have no items under D or E. Next item of business will be agenda item F2A. The chair will stand for motion for item F2A. I'm off one. Excuse me. Item F1 is a budget transfer in the amount of $46,700 in the general purpose school fund. Mr. French moves. Second by Mr. Kaler. The motion is to approve the budget transfer of $46,700. Discussion. Mr. Folks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wonder whether someone from the schools could answer a few questions on this.
Mr. Folks, would you like, excuse me, sir, would you go ahead and ask your question, sir?
Sure. What we're doing here is transferring $46,700 from the electricity account to a program for student mental treatment. First question, is this a new program this year?
Just a moment. Mr. Britt.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Okay. It is, actually, it's a new program from last year, primarily. The state law changed. The state law basically says that by no fault of our own, if we have a child that is receives residential services for mental issues, we are charged so much per day.
But it was in operation last year. I noticed that there were part of it is being used for payment for services rendered last year.
That is correct.
So I guess that raises a question here in that why wasn't it budgeted?
Just a moment, sir. Mr. Vineyard, let me bring you into this conversation. It did come before the Budget Committee, is that correct, sir?
This month, actually last month it did.
And it came out of the Budget Committee with what kind of recommendation, sir?
For approval.
But that doesn't, Mr. Chairman, that doesn't answer my question. My question is, why wasn't it included in the original budget for this year, since it did exist last year? We know because we're paying the expenses.
Mr. Foltz, I have absolutely no idea why. Mr. Logan couldn't be here tonight, and so I can't give you an answer to that question.
Okay.
I know Mr. Logan had the answer to those questions at the Budget Committee, and but I have absolutely no idea. I could make something up if you'd like me to, but I don't think
No,
that
I'd
would be
prefer you
the
didn't
appropriate
do
thing
that.
to do tonight.
I'd prefer you didn't do that. Why are we taking the money for this out of the electricity account?
Well, we first
Mr.
attempt.
Mr. Brick,
I'm
excuse
sorry,
me.
sir.
Would you like to explain that?
When this matter came before the Budget Committee last month, the request was to take it out of reserves or fund balance. And the request of the Budget Committee was we would prefer not to do that. We would prefer you come back and adjust your operating budget to find an account to take it from.
Well, that makes no sense to me. Why are we taking this out of the electricity account? And if we're taking it out of the electricity account, is the electricity account going to come up short at the end of the year? And I know you guys budget pretty tight, so I suspect it will. So why are we doing this? It seems, why are we, this seems like a budget manipulation instead of a straightforward, hey, this came up, we have to use the fund balance.
Do you want me to answer that question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
I mean, as far as my standpoint is that we attempted to take it out of fund balance. That wasn't approved. Money's got to come out of something. We've got to pay the bill. That's just state law. And so we went back to our operating budget, and this is where we chose to take it out of.
Well, clearly it's not something you initiated.
No, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Fogues. Do you have a question, sir?
I was going to try to answer why it didn't come out of fund balance, why the
Yes.
Budget Committee.
I'd appreciate that
All right.
answer.
I'll recognize Ms. Samples first, and then I'll come back.
We were concerned that we might get too dangerously close to the state mandated level, that the fund balance. And so we just said we'd rather that you go back and pull it. Am I correct in that, Mr. Melton or Mr. Lewis? That's the way you remember? That's what I remember. That we were concerned that the state mandated level of the fund balance, we might be headed that direction, and we didn't want to do that.
But
We said go back and find another place, and this is where he came with.
But all that means is we're going to be in trouble on the state mandated fund balance next month or the month after. That's not a good sign.
We could be, I don't know.
Please, one at a time, so everybody can hear, sir.
I'm done.
Okay, this seems like a, frankly, not a very smart way to do it, but I'll not ask any more questions. Thank you.
Just further discussion or questions? Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the budget transfer. Vote no not to approve. Please vote.
You have 16 yeses and 1 abstain.
The transfer is approved. Moving on to the next item, F2A. The chair will stand for motion on F2A, Resolution 12-10-002, to amend the Highway Fund budget by $250,000. Is there a motion? Mr. Melton, Mr. Carver seconds. Discussion. Mr. Harrison, you're recognized.
Yeah, give me, kind of enlighten me, what is this 250? Is this 250 that's going back? Is he giving this back from the cable tax, the $500,000 we give him on the cable tax, or what is this $250,000?
Mr. Harrison, I believe the budget director's ready to answer your question.
Okay.
When the commission approved the budget this year, the recommendation was to have an operating budget and a capital budget. The cable franchise fee was split. $340,000 of it stayed in Fund 131, and $285,000 of it went to Capital Fund 176. Because the cable franchise fees are paid quarterly, all of that money obviously is not there and won't be there until the end of the fiscal year. the highway superintendent made a recommendation that he asked if he could start buying capital equipment over the winter, and the auditors advised us that to do that, go ahead and pay for it out of the operating account and then refund the operating account from the capital fund when all the money comes in.
Further discussion? Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to approve Resolution 12-10002. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
16 yes, 1 no. The resolution's adopted. Next item of business is F2B. The chair will stand for motion on F2B, Resolution 12-10003, to amend the general county fund budget by $18,267. Mr. Lewis moves. Mr. Kaler seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 12-10003. Discussion. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 17 yeses.
17 yes, 0 no's. The resolution's adopted. Moving on to item F2C. The chair will stand for motion on F2C, Resolution 12-10004, to amend the general county fund budget by $12,000. Mr. Carver moves. Mr. Kirby seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 12-10004. Mr. Folks, you're recognized, sir.
This is money that's is going to be used for a temporary employee, which raises the question. There's a sizable budget here, and they can't find $12,000 other than to take it out of fund balance. I'm just amazed. It's just we're whittling away and frittering away this fund balance at a nice, steady stream. Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? Pending motions to adopt Resolution 12-10004. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
Resolution's adopted. Next item of business is F2D. The chair will stand for motion on F2D, Resolution 12-10005, to amend the general county fund budget by $255,886. Mr. Helton moves. Mr. French seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 12-10005. Discussion. Mr. Folks, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item proposes to take $256,000 from fund balance again, the county's savings account, to increase the assessor's budget. This represents about a 33% increase over the submitted budget, and I'd like the assessor to give us some background on what's going on here.
Do you have a question, sir?
Yes, I'd like background on why we're looking for a 33% increase.
Any specific question?
Well, I think that should suffice.
Would you like to respond, Mr. Helton?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. When I took office, I found that there was a shortfall in the budget and that there was not enough funding to pay the staff through the whole budget term. And that's where this all came about. And of course, naturally, you have to be able to pay your staff throughout the whole budget. And if we cannot do that, we are already behind on a reappraisal plan as it is. If we have no staff to do the work, then we're obviously going to fall further behind.
I'm sympathetic to that, which raises the next question, which is, how did a budget like that get submitted? A budget that's not adequate to pay the staff? How did that happen?
Mr. Chairman, I
I
cannot
don't
answer
think
that.
you can answer that question. That's a question for the previous administration.
Correct.
Another
I cannot
question?
answer that.
Excuse me?
Well, I think the fact that they were running at a rate of $1.2 million expenditures and they submitted a $750,000 budget, which never got questioned, shows a couple of things. It certainly shows, it leads one to question the integrity of the submission of the previous budget. Number two, it raises some significant questions about our budget process and how something like this slips through. I mean, this was considered for months, and no one raised the question about this. And so here we are with a budget that is inadequate to pay the staff. We need some major improvements in this budget process. I think that's one thing that this highlights. I've compared your assessor's budget with those of counties similar to ours. And after this increase, we will be operating at the average efficiency of the 3 counties similar to us. Average. To your credit, our cost will still be, our cost used to be 17% higher than the average. So you're going in the right direction. I hope you won't be satisfied with average. The News Sentinel recently ran a series of articles on the abuse of farm assessments by wealthy individuals, large companies, and even golf courses. In fact, you were quoted in that article. We've also had a number of discussions before this commission about people who have their property zoned commercial, but don't end up paying commercial taxes on it. Will this budget increase give you the manpower to look into some of these issues?
Just a moment. Would you repeat your answer, sir? I just turned your light back on. Go ahead.
Oh, it will certainly help the situation, yes. Right now, the manpower we have is what's got us behind. So to receive the funding, obviously, we'll be able to keep the guys in the field and to be able to address the problems that we have right now in the office.
And the problems you have in the office and some of these other problems that have been pointed out in the newspaper, as well as by my fellow commissioner, Mr. French, on a number of occasions. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright, you're recognized.
I'd like to ask Mr. Hilton a couple of questions for me, Mr. Chairman.
State your question.
I understand it takes about 11 people to run your office, not counting yourself. And previously, that's what we had before. And I'm having trouble understanding why we're short $255,000. I've got a letter here from the state controller. It says as of August the 3rd, we were up to date on assessments. Matter of fact, we were 660 ahead as of August the 3rd. So, having said that, have we hired more people? Or I'm having trouble understanding why we need to bring the budget up $255,000 when we were within the state guidelines, the 90-day roll period of assessments.
When I took office,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
When I took office, There were 3 people who left the night before I was sworn in. All I did was I promoted from within to fill 2 of those positions, and I didn't have to increase the staff. The only person that I increased the staff was one to resolve litigation with the county and the previous administration. So I actually didn't increase it, but the one person. That was Tammy Hall.
I'm still confused. Excuse me, but you're asking for 14 people here, okay? And we previously had 11. And I'm sorry, how many do you have now? Do you have 11 now or 14?
Including me.
I'm sorry?
14, including myself.
14, well, that's
Yes.
3, 14 including you or not including you?
No, that includes me.
Okay. So we're 2 ahead. Have you hired 2 people?
No.
You've only hired 1 person?
I've only brought one person in outside of what we had before, prior numbers, and that is Tammy Hall. And that is to resolve the litigation.
Sir, please refrain from using names if possible.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Commissioner French, you're recognized.
I had the same questions today, and I called Mr. Vineyard, and he explained the situation to me, and he explained it to my satisfaction, because I had the same, I asked the same exact questions that's been asked right now, and Mr. Vineyard was able to ease my mind and explain to me what was going on. As to the questions on and I did speak with Mr. Helton also today, and we are going to meet about some of the problems that I brought up with the previous administration that I hope we're going to address after the first of the year. So we are going to take that into consideration.
Mr. Helton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've got a question for Mr. Helton, such as, how did we end up being this amount of money short in the budget? Was there money given to other employees? That you said there was 3 that left the night before. Was there money given to those employees before they left?
Mr. Helton.
Mr. Chairman, there were 3 raises given. The former assistant assessor received almost $8,100, which was a 15% increase from May through the end of August. The administrative services coordinator received almost $12,800, and that's a 29% increase for those same 3 months. One administrative assistant received over $9,300, another 28% increase for those 3 months. So yes, those salaries were adjusted back accordingly.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions, Commissioner Hilton?
No, sir.
Commissioner Harrison, you're recognized.
Yes. Good to see you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I hadn't got to talk to you yet, so this is it. But I've got the same questions that these other guys had. It appeared that the budget was for 10 people at 765. Well, now, correct me, you're asking to get 5 positions, including yourself, and go to 15 people as a staff, which would increase your overall budget $255,000, going from 7 something to $1 million something. And that's what it used to be a year ago, or 2009 or 8, and that's what it used to run on. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
In our package, I do have 1 vacant position that I'm asking for in the 255. It's a level 1 deputy assessor, and again, it's to assist with the field review.
And the other 3 were just people that were maybe brought back from layoff?
They
or-
were former employees who had the experience to come back.
Okay.
And I brought those back and filled the open slots that we have. I did not create an additional position. What I did do was take a clerical position and converted it to a mapping position and hired a GIS coordinator to handle the mapping problems that we have in the office.
Okay. No disrespect to the former. I'm seeing a little bit where this is coming from. Mr. Morton had been asked to cut back. Is that correct, Mayor?
Mr. Morton had been asked to cut back 2011 when we asked for the 12.8% cuts, yes.
A year ago. Okay. And then that got approved for 10 positions. So that, and I guess, what I'm asking you, in these times, people struggling, we're trying to make cuts, we're trying to cut back, we're trying to do smaller government. Is it absolutely necessary that you have 15 people and we increase your budget?
It's a good question.
Mr. Hilton.
Pardon me. It's a good question. We have 8 areas designated in the county for appraisers. We only have 5 appraisers currently. The one vacant position that I'm asking for will only give us 6. So we'll still be understaffed as far as appraisers goes. And those 8 areas have been in existence since I've been with the county since 2003. And so if that answers your question.
Commissioner Samples, you recognize, sir.
Well, the mayor answered what I was going to say in defense of the Budget Committee. We did ask him to make those reductions, and we were told that because of the lesser number of building and that kind of thing, that there was fewer people needed. And so I think most of us didn't see too much of a problem when they came in with those big reductions, because we were told there wasn't as much work to be done.
Commissioner Wright, you recognize, sir.
The employee brought back, did you pay that person back pay?
No, sir.
No?
I did not. No.
Huh?
No, I did not.
Well, I was wondering, well, the amount's $16,000, I understand. I'm sorry?
There's details of litigation, Commissioner Wright, that I think we should.
Not anymore. Well, with construction down, like new building construction, like 30 to 40%, almost 40%, I'm having trouble with my math, if you understand, with all due respect, and I can't see why we were at one point caught up as of August the 3rd, and now all of a sudden we're behind. Now, I understand we've had some people coming and going, but I'm trying to justify it. You understand?
I understand that. And to address Mr. Samples, currently when I took office, we had a 43.6% increase in building permits since last summer.
Commissioner Folks, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one follow-up question. You mentioned 3 people that were given outrageous raises. Are any of those 3 people still on the staff?
No, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? Pending motions to adopt Resolution 12-10-005. Vote yes to adopt. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 15 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstain.
The resolution's adopted. Next item of business is F3. The chair will stand for a motion on item F3, Resolution 12-10-006, a resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee by amending section 7.5 I.4 to permit and regulate electronic message centers within the commercial zone and amend Section 13 to include a definition for electronic message center sign. Mr. Kirby moves. Mr. Wright seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1210-006. Discussion. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
16 yes, 1 no. The resolution is adopted. Moving to item F4, the chair will stand for a motion on item F4 to set a public hearing for November 6, 2012, 6:30 p.m. in room 430, Blount County Courthouse, for the purpose of hearing testimony and comments regarding amendments to the zoning regulations for hilltop and hillside regulation. Mr. Kirby moves. Mr. Carver seconds. The motion set a public hearing for November 6, 2012, 6:30, room 430, Blount County Courthouse, regarding amendments to the zoning regulations for hilltop and hillside regulation. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to set the public hearing. Vote no not to set.
You have 17 yeses.
17 yes, the public hearing is set. Moving to item F5, the chair will stand for motion on F5, a request for allocation of space by juvenile court. Mr. Carver moves. Second by Mr. French. The motion is to approve a request for space made by the juvenile court. Discussion. Vote yes to approve the request. Vote no not to approve.
You have 17 yeses.
The request is approved. Moving to item F6, the chair will stand for a motion on item F6, Resolution 1210-008, a resolution to discharge certain committees. Mr. Kirby moves. Mr. Carver seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1210-008. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 17 yeses.
17 yes. Resolution is adopted. This time we'll go to item G, announcements and statements. Any commissioner have an announcement or statement? Moving on to item H, public input on items not on the agenda. Mr. Commissioner Samples, you're recognized. Oh, sorry. Mr. Folks is recognized now.
Thank you. In the last several meetings, we've approved a number of items that are steadily eating up our fund balance. In my opinion, we are building a significant problem for next year because these items will have to be funded from taxes next year. Therefore, I'd like to ask the budget director to keep us posted on how we're doing here. If you could give us in our package each month a report showing the opening fund balances in the various major departments and each item that's been taken from those fund balances, I think that would help us see the picture developing. Thank you.
Commissioner Samples, you're recognized.
In the Agenda Committee meeting last week, I attempted to suspend the rules for an idea that I wanted to put before the Commission, and I want to do it tonight under items that were not on the agenda. And that is simply this. I would like for the commission to vote tonight, it would be a non-binding vote, but to show our indication to the Budget Committee that what we would like to do if the sales tax referendum passes to increase the sales tax, that the cable franchise money that we have already designated to Mr. Dunlap, he came before the commission, said if it passed, he would not need it, he would return it, that we take that cable franchise money and direct the Budget Committee to place it in debt service. Now, this is money that's not a part of the property tax rate, but it amounts to a little over 2 cents, would be the equal to the property tax rate. So it's not money that's coming from the property tax, and it's money we've already sent somewhere else. So it's not part of the budget. So I'd like for this commission to show a vote tonight that what our intention is for that money to go back to debt service once it is returned after the sales tax vote, if the vote is in the affirmative. And I would like to have that voted on, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
I'll second that.
Mr. Folks seconds. The pending motion is for a non-binding vote of the body to recommend to the Budget Committee that if the sales tax referendum passes, the already designated sales cable franchise authority tax will be applied against debt service.
Yes.
And there's a second. Discuss, Mr. Helton. You're recognized, Commissioner Helton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Samples, is that taking the debt 43 cents to 45? Is that what's going to happen?
No, because it's not part of the property tax. It's money that am I correct, Mr.? That's right. It's not part of the property tax. It's money that we collect from cable TV franchise that we've already said can go to the highway department. Well, Mr. Dunlap came in and said, if it passes, I'm going to give this back to you. So we would have this money that's already been allocated in another direction that we could now just put toward the debt service.
Thank you.
Commissioner French, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess the only question I have would be, is that for this year only, or is that?
That would be something we'd have to address
every year? Okay, that I don't have a problem with that this year. That was my question.
Commissioner Melton, you're right. Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman. Those amounts of money will equal about the same amount of money?
Yes.
So they're going.
About 625,000.
Will the sales tax will be a little bit higher than the franchise tax? This just depends on the economy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's looking at a crystal ball. I don't have the answer.
As long as Dunlap don't get short.
Well, he's the one that offered to give it back.
Commissioner Hasty, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, thank you. My question is for Mr. Samples or somebody on this commission. What you're asking to do does not change or alter any part of, and I guess, I'm fine with however the money goes, but I mean, we put it on a referendum that it would go so much to the schools, so much to the highway department. Will we be in trouble by any of this change by asking our citizens to vote on one thing and then yet we're trying to do something else?
It doesn't have anything to do with the vote other
One moment,
than.
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Saps, you're recognized.
Doesn't have anything to do with the vote other than whether it passes or fails. If it passes, then we get this money back from the highway department. It won't affect what's on the ballot or anything. It's still going to happen the way it's on the ballot. The sales tax increase will go to, half goes to schools by state law, and then we've directed that the other half go to the highway department. That still happens. What we're saying is if that happens, then we have this, we want to take that money, it's cable franchise money, and direct it to debt service. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Are the members ready for the question? Pending motion is a non-binding vote on whether or not to redirect the Cable Franchise Authority revenue back to debt service if the referendum, sales tax referendum, is voted in a positive form, if it's voted in. Vote yes to adopt the motion. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 16 yeses and 1 no.
16 yes, 1 no. The motion carries. It's a non-binding vote. Anyone else to offer input on items not on the agenda? Mr. Rothschild, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you find yourself like me trying to figure out how we got in this position of where we're at in our nation. But I've been doing a lot of reading Founding Fathers statements of late, and I found a couple I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind. Maybe it would help you as it helps me. There was a 1774 Massachusetts Providential Congress reorganized and established the Massachusetts militia, providing that fully 1/4 of the entire militia was made up of Minutemen, patriots, who vowed to be ready to fight at a moment's notice. The Massachusetts Providential Congress charged the Minutemen, saying, quote, "You are placed by Providence in the post of honor because it is the post of danger. The eyes not only of North America, but the whole British Empire, and also that of Europe, are upon you. Let us be therefore altogether solicitous that no disorderly behavior, nothing encumbering our character as Americans, as citizens, as Christians, be justly chargeable to us." And then in the writings of second President of the United States, John Adams, he made this observation: "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions, unbridled by morality and religion. Therefore, let not adverse ambition, revenge, gallantry, any that would of the strongest cords of our Constitution be broken as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made solely for a moral and religious people. It is they and only their values, for any government would be inadequate to try and withhold men's passion." In the devotional this morning, I'm reminded of the story of the little town of Ai. It was so insignificant that Joshua's only defeat occurred when he sent 2,000 or 3,000 troops out there to do battle against Ai, and yet they lost more members of their party than they had in any other battle, some 34. Why, Chairman? Because there was sin in the camp. I hope we will be careful to keep the sin out of our camp. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, if you'll come forward, sir. If you'll give your name, sir.
Yes, sir. It's Ken Monar from the 6th District. Sitting here tonight, I was glad to hear all the questionings on one particular item, but it made me think of sometime how men of straightforward will and common sense look at something like an assessment and say, well, we have to just run around the rat cage just like we did it the last time. You know, I live in a neighborhood where there's not much change in that neighborhood. And then most people live in such neighborhoods of why we go through an exercise of doing something when we can look at an actuary table and actually easily at the cost of 1/3 get this process done, adding new stock and new commercial improvements or whatever with maybe half a staff. And, you know, I'm often surprised at how we follow these rules and we're stuck in them and we can't react to them by common sense, either because it's some sort of state law or a procedural lock. But it shouldn't really be that way. When you think about when significant monies like that, you know, you can think, you know, you could hire, you know, 2 PhDs from one of your county schools or something, you know, to really give them the world-class experience, you know. So I'm always just surprised when I hear that. And the other thing that is really disappointing is like to hear a process where we take a closing administration and we jump up salaries. You know, we treat it as nothing because it's nothing to the budget, but it's long-term something to the taxpayer who's going to be, that's the rate at which their pension is going to pay for some next 30 years. And that's always such a, to hear that kind of practice and not say anything about it, you know, we're so immune these days to it. It's just bad form. I just want to say to hear that, and we're listening, and it's not nice, you know. You can do better. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address Mr. Britt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Commissioners, just wanted to take this opportunity tonight to remind you just how critical the referendum, upcoming referendum on the November 6th ballot is to our school system and as well as to our roads, our county. I believe, want to assure you that on October the 1st that Alcoa began to collect that tax. I know this to be a fact because I've eaten there several times and they are definitely collecting that new tax. The unfortunate thing to me is that that tax that I'm paying and many county residents that I see alongside me eating in those establishments, those new tax dollars, that new revenue, which will add up to millions of dollars, will go to benefit only the students in Alcoa City Schools with a new high school. Not that I begrudge them from having a new high school. That's certainly not my point here tonight. However, I do want to say that I hope that you will help me and encourage those, your constituents, to have this, vote for this referendum and to allow that tax to be spread over the entire county so that all of our students may benefit. It is particularly critical this year as we approach the budget cycle of nearly $5 to $7 million that we will be in deficit as I come to you in the budget preparation cycle. And you know, this new revenue could possibly generate somewhere between $2.3, $2.5 million, get us nearly halfway to where we're going to need to be, just simply to keep the critical services that we have in place now in place for next year. And so again, I just wanted to come here this evening and encourage you to join me in trying to educate our community so that they're aware of what and how critical this referendum is to us as we go forward. And thank you for your time.
No other items on the agenda. Mr. French, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address the referendum also, and I'd like to reinforce what Mr. Britt has just commented on. And to reinforce that, if you could think, and if you could do this in your mind, take a nickel and 3 pennies out of your pocket and place it in front of you. And as of right now, when that tax is paid in Alcoa, I believe 6 cents of that will go to Alcoa, and you can take a nickel and a penny and push it over to Alcoa side and take the other 2 cents and it goes to Maryville. and the goose egg, I believe, comes to Blount County. I believe we get, Mr. Bridge, you may have to correct me on this, but anyway, if we pass that referendum and that tax, and we do have the tax increase, you can take that 8 cents again that is spent now in Alcoa and you can take, I believe, a nickel of that will come to Blount County. 2 cents will go to Maryville and 1 cent will go to Alcoa. So if you can put that money in front of you and see what's going to happen if this referendum passes, you'll see that it will help our schools as well as our Department of Transportation that much. And just keep that in the back of your mind is what I'd like for you to do. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no lights, Chair will stand for a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.